I don't look for perfect spacing, but I usually use a stick of some sort to mark out an area so I have somewhat even spacing and so that it's centered between the rows. Another note, peppers and hot peppers, they have shallow roots, so you don't want to bury them deep because they need the heat from the sun on the surface of the soil. To get the plants out, just gently squeeze and then feel at the base if it's coming out. Push a little bit from the bottom, it'll come out. Set the plant in so that the root ball is even with the surface. Add a little soil around it. Tamp it down a little bit, not too tight, not too loose. Just firm it and put your stake in alongside of it. While it's young, so you're not going to damage roots adding stakes later. This is going to give this spindly plant the support it needs as it matures and gets heavy laden with fruit. Immediately after planting a plant, it's important to water it to settle the roots and help it recover from shock. I find that using an old laundry detergent container with the lid cut off gives me a nice handled container that I can scoop water with and carry around for individual plants. Remember to loosen up the dirt down in your hole so that as that root ball grows it has plenty of loose soil to grow into. Tomato plants can be planted a little deeper than peppers. Even though they like hot surface soil, they will spread roots from their stem. Simply pluck off the bottom leaves without damaging the plant, place it deep in the hole, hold your branches up, and fill in around. The hairs on the stem will turn into roots. That way your plant will have deep roots and it will have shallow roots for the heat. So there are a few tips. Also, with my pole beans and my corn, I did add a little trellis I made out of stakes and some twine. Another valuable thing to have is twine. When the plants are small, the twine is going to help you see where the rows are, because when you're stumbling around in the garden looking at things and picking things, and while the plants are small, you want something to help give you your bearings so you know exactly where the plants and the rows are. So that's another good thing to do for plant setup, garden setup. As I mow the lawn, I pile up the grass inside and just outside of my fence line. It's going to keep weeds down along the fence line, but also I pull from there and I put around my plants to hold in moisture and to block weeds as the plants grow. Now I wanted to show the difference between this side of the garden and this section here. You can see this is all well aerated and no weeds, and that's because I hit it with the hoe. Something that is so valuable to a garden is learning to use the hoe. I use the hoe to make my mounds, the big long mounds, the little mounds, and to mound up dirt around the tomatoes as they grow. And also in between the rows and between the tomato plants, as I hoed up dirt around them to support the stalk and make more room for root growth, I weed. And it's a very easy process. You can see all the little weeds. You want to get them before they get this big. Get a couple days of rain and you're going to have just a big bed of weeds here. So if you have a hoe in 20 minutes, you can hoe out a garden this size with no problem, and it's very easy to do. Just takes a little bit of trying to get the knack of it, and hey, I wouldn't replace the hoe with anything else. I know that some people use cultivators, but with a cultivator you've got to have plenty of row space, which this does right here. But then when you have rows and tighter vegetables, you're not going to be able to use that cultivator unless it's a small one, and it's going to be a lot of work too. So it quite literally took me just a couple minutes to hoe up these last 2 rows of tomato and taking care of all the weeds in between while I was doing it. So that concludes my day for today. Well, been busy. I took about a truckload of dirt out so I could level the ground to start filling up the pool there. Big day. Did a lot of work. Everything's looking good though. Guess I'll just keep you posted on how the old survival garden's going.